A gracious good day, Opal Universe. This is Professor Tommy Halstead, Coach D, coming with you for our Decision 3 recap. We're in the home stretch, 4 and 5. 5 is really different, easy. There's no inventory, anything in the next decision because it's the last decision. So there are some unique things. 4 is important because teams switch places all the time in Decision 3 and 4. And that did happen this time. We'll take a look at that. So without any more waiting, let's jump into our screen sharing. Okay, here we are. And as we see, what happened? Yellow and blue changed places, of all things. Yeah, blue dipped down, yellow jumped up. Everybody did outstanding and corrected a lot of deficiencies. I'll tell you this week has been unique in getting a huge number of texts, emails, phone calls, what have you, from team members asking for advice. I got a lot of questions from Yellow about low cost and about family, and I post answers to everyone on announcements or the decisions so that you can actually see the answer I gave so that one isn't favored over the other. I'll just give some hints and that kind of stuff, but you can see that. So, but if we look back at the rankings, um, everybody's doing fantastic. There's a lot of good corrections here. Yellow, yellow compared to blue, why they switched is blue fell behind. They're almost number 3 in all. They're number 3 in all the places because they had a cash flow problem. Blue team, for the first of all the teams now, got a government loan, which is automatic if you dip below cash because of trying to correct some things in image, which they did, but it had a cost in terms of cash and cash flow. Red really solidified their lead here. There's only one number 2 position because yellow beat them out in revenue, which is interesting. In fact, if yellow hadn't had the problem they had in eco, they've been having a problem all along. And I keep saying back off, back off, back off of eco. And that they would have beat red team. Yellow would be in lead right now if you look at all their other cash flows, their revenues, and everything else in the other lines. So the you can take pictures of this, look at each individual one, analyze them yourself, see what you have to do for this next decision. But congratulations, everybody did fantastic. And I will show you, in fact, I will show you, let's jump to Biz 485 to see what these 1, 2s, and 3s are actually about. And then we'll go back to the EBIT as we usually do to look at it specifically. But on Biz 485, I've got a comparison of decision 2 versus decision 3 here. So let's see. Here's decision 2 up on top and decision 3 recent. And just look what happened here. Blue did much, much better at a big cost in image. They got almost the positive EBIT. But remember in the beginning, the first decision, blue was just roaring. They had all positive financials. Since then, we've had issues trying to stay in positive territory, but without a big commitment to any line. So you can look at blue's sort of close to that line, sort of conservative approach to the sim. And they're not bleeding or dying in anything, but they're not really good in anything either. So blue could easily jump up to number 2 and number 1 in this next decision, especially if they fix what happened cash flow wise in low cost image, but they didn't die in eco like yellow did. And yellow jumped up ahead of them. How and why did yellow jump up ahead of them? Well, you can see that if you look at eco with yellow from last decision to this decision, they're getting destroyed even more. But look at what happened in family. They did so much better in family, and especially low cost. They're actually crashing and burning, and now they're positive in low cost. So yellow made some amazing, great corrections. The only one thing is doubling down in eco when eco is takes very specific investment and very to do well. And you can see that red, our leader, did great. Red is like above the line in everything now. They corrected what they were doing in ego and eco, and you'll see what happened. We'll show the white lines. And remember, if like blue, if you're crashing financially with a cash flow, look at that white line. You can see what's going on, especially in image and the money that you spent low cost. But there's not a lot of change. They did better in family, blue did. They got into positive territory, which they were negative before. And of course, yellow did fantastic in family, a big change. Red didn't do quite as well. There's some things, especially with the dealership network and number of models, red needs to look at. But I'm not going to lecture red. They're doing just absolutely fantastic. I mean, look what happened in image here. They just jumped way, way, way up in image. So red's obviously doing some right things. They're all above the line. Almost everybody's above the line. Everybody's close. Look what happened with image. Fantastic. It's blue. This is a great, great, great sim, record setting. If it wasn't for the problems with yellow and eco, which are easily corrected, look at price, look at your inventory, look at your lost orders. We'll look at all that stuff and remember that to look at eco with yellow because it's important for that product manager to take a look at that. Almost everyone gets destroyed in eco every sim until about decision 3 and 4. And look at it's red has turned it around and they've jumped up. Blue's jumped up a little also in it. So it is following the pattern of do your best in family and image because they're your cash cows. And as you get to decision 4 and 5, you'll do a little better in eco and certainly a little better. Look at everybody's above the water and low cost now. Good job. Fantastic. You really have got this down. The teams have really figured this out. They've got it down. So let's jump into, we looked at the ranking. Let's look over at, we already looked at this, but we didn't look at the financials. This is a more detailed look at what has changed, especially if we want to look at yellow team and we want to look at image. I mean, you can see revenue is the story here. And, revenue is what? Price times quantity, right? So we got to look at how we're pricing, what are the quantities of the three, and then to get to your EBIT, what is the unit cost and what is the total cost? So that's where blue kind of got killed by having much lower revenue, spending less, but they got into a cash flow problem. When you see previous and current cash, when you see this 18,999 or 19,000, that's the signal that the sim is telling you had to have a government loan. So when blue says, wait a minute, why am I in debt at 56%? That's not horrible leverage in this sim. You can still do really well with it. But that's because this $7,000 loan, though, all of a sudden will hit because the government had to fund them because they dipped below cash flow because of what happened in EBIT, especially not just retained earnings, but look what happened in EBIT after all were said and done in the totals, and then especially also in the jump from in eco from not doing great to doing really, really poorly. Let's look at eco and let's look at blue and look at our red marks. First of all, engineering appeal isn't terrible, but look at marketing appeal. The marketing appeal is really a problem for blue, and marketing is tough with dealership networks, consumption, and other factors, just like in family. It's very different than image. But look at revenue. Where's revenue? Look at this store here in revenue. Way down. Now, but also look, yellow did not do real good, obviously, in eco either, compared to blue and red from last time, but yellow got worse and everybody else got better. That's the whole point of yellow here and what happened with blue from going much more negative to at least peaking out a little bit of positive. So I'm going back and forth with blue and yellow because of them changing places. And I want you to see why they changed places. and what happened, especially with the cash flow and with the loans, and what happened, especially in eco, because if yellow had done just fix the eco thing, they fixed everything else. They did fantastic, especially jumping up in family. Look at low cost. Yellow was dying in low cost, and now they've jumped up into positive territory. Everyone has. But that was a great job by Yellow. But the loan has got to do with getting killed even more in eco. So that's why I'm looking a little bit at eco. And where's our EBIT? Here's our EBIT. You can see what happened here, where they really got killed. And look at their capacity. We'll see this with lost orders over inventory and saying, what kind of capacity are you using and what is your inventory compared to blue? Because blue had a problem. Yeah, look at blue. Blue's got a problem with inventory too, right? Compared to capacity. So that's the story in our sad story. Everything else is fantastic. And blue and especially red jump from negative to as much positive as they were negative with engineering peel. Also with the revenues are good, are strong. And then if you look at cost of goods sold, that's what's going to kill you if it's too high compared to your revenue. If your revenue has dropped down, let's see, what's price times quantity up here for yellow isn't as bad. They're close. Yeah, they're really close to blue there, but 1800 versus 1200, and then 156 instead of gross instead of 600. So that's a huge, much bigger. And of course, there's a lot more in engineering as well as marketing is almost 700 there. So you're marketing an awful lot with a lot of cash in a very difficult to get ahead line like eco. Now, in decision four, it usually does better because it's growing more. But with the investment you've all put into image and family, it'll keep growing strong until the last two decisions. Sometimes it drops off as a cash cow, but not when you put as much into it as you have put into it. So I mean, the other stories are great stories, except for the, blue only dropped a little, but low cost with yellow. Oh my goodness. What a difference from last time. They were just absolutely crash burn. And that's why they jumped up above blue because blue had a slight problem, even though they did better in image compared to how much better yellow did in low cost. And that's just a matter of looking at the last white lines compared to these and the lost orders over inventory. If you go down here to your unit cost and you go down here to your capacity versus what happened last period. So that's something to look at. We already looked at family, everybody's doing great. Family blue did a little bit worse in family than last time, but not horribly. But they should be doing fantastic in family. They did better and were above the line, but they could do a lot better in family. And of course, the positive story in family is yellow, just knocking the cover off the ball. They were doing good already last time in family, but they're doing much, much better now. Image is our flagship line, and the story here in image really is blue. It's like everybody else is rocking and above the line, but blue, hats off to blue. They were really, really, remember last time? Let's see, remember last time. Remember last time, look at where they were at. They were just dying in image, right? And now look at, they've come back and almost become positive in image. So that's great. That's great results in image. So Blue, you all deserve credit. You've done fantastic. You've made some really refined and great decisions. So enough of all the standings and all our normal stuff. I'll try to stop talking, give you enough stuff to help you with our next decision by just looking at some of our usual charts, especially lost orders over inventory. Let's jump up there now. And let's see. Let's go to the business lines. And let's go to, we can look at what's driving costs. That's always important, but LOI is always our favorite because it's such a driver, such a major driver of EBIT. So remember, our zero line is what we're trying to get to. If all three teams were like yellow and red, like this across here, and this is low cost, so we're doing everybody's doing good in low cost. There was a complete bath by yellow in low cost here with that inventory. And the last couple of decisions, look what they did. They really balanced supply and demand. Now, blue is having a problem building inventory in all the lines, as you'll see. Inventory production, and then what's happening with the lost orders. Blue had they just had a sine curve here. They were really having a problem with lost orders where they were marketing and selling like crazy, but they couldn't deliver. And then they got to zero, but then doubled down instead of leveling off in terms of their supply side. They kept on building inventory here rather than getting lost orders because they weren't making enough. So they kept on manufacturing, but their marketing in low cost got in trouble, and that's also where they started to have an issue with their cash flows and cash on the corporate side. Now, this isn't terrible. It's just an indicator they're still above water in low cost. All right, let's look at family. All right, same story with family. Zero's way down here. So we've got two with inventory problems in terms of family, and yellow just rocking, doing good, supply and demand matching them. And that's why yellow is dominating family because they're closer to the zero line in EBIT. And both the other teams are not doing terrible. They're near the middle line, but again, there's been a crossover with blue and red, where red is getting their act together and going the right direction in terms of manufacturing and production, whereas yellow's really doing great. They're really close to that zero line, and that's why they're succeeding so much in family with the LOI. Let's see what's going. Oh no, here comes Eco with 4 in yellow. Let's see where yellow's at here. Actually, everybody's not doing. Yellow's kind of going in a good trend direction here.
12 noon time. This is a reminder. 12 noon time.
Sorry for some of these breaks and pauses. I get some interruptions going on here. I just had my Eco interrupt, tell me that it's almost noontime here. We'll let that go off in the background. Okay, let's see, where were we? So Red's got a problem with lost orders here, right? It's not too bad, and they've leveled off. All they got to do is move supply and demand both up. But Blue has got an issue in Eco, even though they're kind of close to the line. Nobody's doing great because they're not matching it and hitting revenue. So the price and quantity also match a bigger denominator in terms of units. And what that means is marginal unit cost depends on the denominators. If it's, if you're doing um, 50 dollars over 50 units, it's a dollar. If you're doing 50 over 100, it's 50 cents. So it's just the bigger the denominator, the bigger the installed base of revenue, quantity, and size you have in market share, the more you can spend money with it spreading out over that. And at the margin, it's not going to tear your EBIT apart like it did for Blue, especially in family this time. So let's look at image again. Image, I think, yeah, image is much better. Um, Blue is Blue not doing well in image? I think they were doing terrible. Oh, I see what happened is, yeah, they got their act together a little by dumping some inventory, but it was at a cost in terms of the cash flows. But both of the other teams are pretty close to zero here, just wobbling back and forth. But if you look at yellow and red, you'd expect the EBITs to continue to be better and good. But red built some inventory, sold some more, and made the amount they needed to sell. So there's not lost orders like there used to be. And so you'd expect red to be doing much better this time in image. Let's see what they're doing. Oh yeah, look at red in image now. Look at that difference. LOI is just amazing in terms of its predictability. It's not always the only thing, obviously. This is a complex thing, but right now that we looked over those in our production schedule, what do we need to make for our next decision? Let's go to and see what are they doing right in low cost. Wow. How's that for a match of giving it all away? Family? Wow. See, it's kind of, where's marketing? Look at that. Yeah, this is the profile of the team that's getting it and keeping an eye on the bouncing right, bouncing the line. Value chain, of course, is your market share, and they're doing fantastic. Um, Families, they did a little less in family than they did last time, but still it's doing fantastic. Let's look at let's look at back at the value, and let's look at eco and seeing how we're covering that. A little bit above at eco, but they're not obviously not getting killed in eco like yellow ones. We'll have to look at these lines with yellow and see how they differ. Remember, take pictures of these. It's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. It's not just that, it's how you explain what happened in that final paper. And I'm so happy to see all the teams cooperating with the paper. You take this paragraph, I'll take that paragraph. And you're not doing that, you should be, but all teams seem to be getting there where you don't have to do as much work if you each take a part of it and then you submit the same thing that's allowed in this course, because teamwork is the answer. It's the answer to everything. So as you put your teams together for the final run of this class and the final part of the sim, you're all experts in the sim now. Just start thinking of how can we explain what happened? Where were our mistakes? Where are our wins and where are our losses? What will we do different? That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for, hey, we did everything right and we're the best. It's like, no, we made some mistakes. Here they are. We want honesty. And let's go to image. Well, you can see how closely it is tied to everything there. To our white lines. They're not, the white lines can't be bad. I mean, I haven't looked at this yet, but they can't be that bad. They may not be as good as reds, but they are close to the line, so they're matching supply and demand. And other than their cash flow problems, um, not a lot of change there, and a little bit of divergence when they cross over there. That's a bit of an issue, but they're not. I look at. I mean, Blue's not doing bad really in anything, so we wouldn't expect the lines to be too far off. And they're not. They really figured out who likes what. Family, the dealer network was a problem. Let's see, what's our dealer network? Okay, proximity is back up and good. There were a couple that I advised to get that dealer niche network looking better for family. And everybody saw that. I both said it for everyone, so there's no preference here. I'm going to say everyone do great. All right, let's see. Eco. See, they're doing good in eco. Too bad in image either. So, yeah, blue is really close. Blue could jump right back up and be number one and win the whole thing with just some tweaks. Because they really understand them, but they're following it really well. They've got the characteristics down. What's the network there? See, proximity here is really low because image doesn't care about it, like family does. So they've got the message, they've got it done. Everyone are doing fantastic. All right, on to where's yellow? Look at the white lines in yellow. Yellow, actually they did low cost. Oh my gosh. They had such a shift in low cost. That's right. They were dying in low cost last time, and now they're positive. Yellow did awesome. This is one reason they jumped ahead. They really had a shift in low cost that was their pariah. It was dragging them down. Family, they're doing great. They were doing good in Pele. Now they're doing great. They jumped up even more. Look at that convergence in these last couple of decisions. Just awesome. And so you compare that to lost orders over inventory, take some shots of it, keep those white line shots. So in your final presentation, you can put a couple of slides in and say, this is what happened, how we adjusted to the market and what they needed. Eco yellow. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Yeah, see, that's not too bad. There's some up and down. It's not usually when I see this, no, 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 follow, chase, chase, chase. This is like you're chasing it, okay? And this happens sometimes in low cost also, where you're doing leading rather than lagging trends and you're breathing exhaust because you're trying to catch up. Whoops, we went up. No, we went down. No, we went up. No, we went down. And you might say, well, look, come on coach, they're not that far off. It's like, no, they're not. But this variability of chasing it, leading and lagging in terms of which characteristics are working for a line, that really kills you in terms of the financials, just like it did for blue leading leading the long this time. So nobody's doing really bad at image. And yellow did about this a little bit, not quite as good but it's just much smoother. It's not the up and down, tried it, missed it, the seesaw, and you can seesaw also in lost orders over inventory. You can have that up and down and up and down and up and down where it's like, oh, I got to make more. Oh no, I got to market more. Oh, I got to make more. And it never settles down into like near the zero line, but it has for all the teams in one or two of the lines, and most of the teams, especially now, if you look at yellow and red, they're almost near the. There's got some inventory being built up, I think, a little bit in their flagship reds, which is image, right? Yeah, but that's nothing to worry about. It's doing fantastic. So let's look at. I want to go back to blue. We're just about done. You guys have everything you need to make these last couple decisions, but blue team especially, close to my heart with that 19,000 bucks. Let's take a look at. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it on a weekend. Everybody is always anxious to look at what happened from one to the other. And I probably predicted at the very beginning for the three of you that went to the mandatory starting meeting, and we all got 25 points for that. Let me say something about the peer reviews at the end here, if you watched all the way here. The peer reviews are fantastic. The teams are really functioning, but there are a handful of people, two or three folks that aren't showing up and aren't contributing. And when you lose those points and you see that your A plus, which I want to give everyone, has dropped down to an F or a D, and you haven't kept up with the decisions either, you're in danger of not making it in this class, of having to take it over again. I hate that. I don't want it. So there's still time. There's another peer review. Some of you, frankly, got zero. A few people, everybody in the team said they didn't show, they weren't there, they didn't contribute, and when they came, they didn't say anything. So you can't, this is a team sport, guys. You have to come, you have to show up. As hard as our schedules are, I know, I work 12, 14-hour days, and it's like 7 days a week. In adjunct, I also have 3,000 students a year that I tutor. So yeah, I'm busy too. I don't get a lot of sleep and I work hard and we all do. And this sim has got, I love it because we've got a lot of working adults. I've got active duty military. So when you tell me I'm having a hard time making the meeting, I get it. I know it's not easy, but you gotta, you have to, if you don't do the team thing here and you're not contributing to your team, what happens with the final paper and the final presentation? And it's a team project. Everybody does it and everybody submits the same thing and they all get A's on it because they did a team and they did fantastic. Do you deserve an A too? Because you did nothing on it. You went along for the ride. No, that's why you get into trouble. So if you know who I'm talking to, if you are the people that are skipping the meetings, please don't. There's still time. Go to your meetings, jump in, help your folks, do everything you can do there, and let them bring you up. Every team's doing fantastic here. So there's a lot of good people putting hard work in. So that's my final advice. I do not want anybody getting below a C in this class. And most of you have got A's and B's are doing fantastic because you've done all the work. It's a lot of hard work. A couple people really complained about the midterm and said that they were kind of bummed out about that they didn't get a real high score. You know what? maybe you slept through accounting and finance. You forgot Diane, debits increased, assets, but not equity. There's a lot of questions about accounting on there that aren't going to make or break you as a CEO, and they're not now either. And don't forget, I will give you a letter of recommendation and a reference if you need it. If you're just getting into a new step in your job or you haven't worked, if most of the people I've worked because I have older folks in the edge in the non-trads rather than the brick and mortar and the ground school. But some of you need an internship, or you got to say, they're saying, well, we give you the job, but you need experience. Well, I can't get the job without experience. I can't get the experience without a job. I'm stuck in this, catch-22 or this loop. Happy to give you a recommendation and say they did fantastic in the sim. It's just like running a business. And you will run into other people that did these sims. There's 300 sims at Harvard alone. Some of them are in ethics, some of them are running, they're all running companies. So when they see that you ran a company that's all the car companies actually do use to train their executives, that's really a leg up in terms of other people competing for those jobs. So just let me know but we're getting towards the end, that you would like a letter of recommendation or a reference. And you got my email, I got everything you need to contact me. You got my phone number, you got my text. So use it. Thank you. Next time.